Welcome to the platform where the stories weigh a ton. This is where some of the MHSPLA's best tell real stories about what it takes to build themselves and their teams under the bar. I'm your co-host of the show, Chris Whittaker, and we're glad you're here. Hey, if you're enjoying this show, please make sure you subscribe, follow, and leave a review on all major podcast hosts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, and many more. That support helps us continue to grow the show and bring the conversations that you want to hear right here to the platform. If you'd like to give us some feedback or suggest a guest or topic for the show, please email info@mhspla.com and we'll get back to you. Today's episode is a Coaches Roundtable, part 1 of 2, bringing back 2 returning guests who happen to know each other very well. Coach Nick Lundquist of Lakeville, fresh off a JV boys state title this past year, and Coach Nick Lusk, recently retired a 4-time state champion from Troy, Athens. Alongside myself and my co-host Chris Gilliam, the 4 of us get into the nuts and bolts of training and programming and how we monitor intensity and protect form in big groups. What maxing out really means in teaching movements from sometimes a PVC pipe, specialty bars, the lighten method, how to program for multi-sport athletes. This is part 1 here. So step up, lock in. This is part 1 with Nick Lusk and Nick Lundquist. Hit the intro music.
Welcome to the platform where the stories weigh a ton. Squat, bench, dead, we rise as one. Michigan's lifters, this is our home. Turn it up, feel that foam. This is the platform.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bar is loaded yet again for another episode of your Michigan High School Powerlifting Association podcast, The Platform. I'm your co-host, as always, Chris Whittaker, Dexter High School, Iron Dread Strength and Conditioning, Iron Dread Powerlifting, Dexter High School, I already said that part. Coach Gilliam, I am on the Michigan High School Powerlifting Board with the aforementioned Executive Director of the Michigan High School Powerlifting Association, your co-host, as always, Coach Chris Gilliam. Coach Gilliam, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see both Nicks here. This should be a really good conversation. Excited.
Oh, and we got a good one today. We are bringing back 2 previous guests. These 2 gentlemen know each other very well. They both have won state championships in powerlifting. One coached the other at one point, way back in the day. We have with us Nick Lundquist and Coach Nick Lusk. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, good to see you.
Hey, Coach Lusk, can you turn your phone sideways so we can get a fuller picture of you?
Yep. Turn sideways so we can see your smiling face. All right.
That better?
Lundquist is
No,
back.
you're actually sideways now.
He's upside down. We're not editing this out. This is staying in the
Just
final.
saying, hey, usually, it changes, but man, you were like,
Yeah, we'll leave him like that.
we're
There?
going to leave you.
Sideways still?
Yeah,
People listening on audio have no idea what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Start a podcast, they said. Technology works great. So Coach Lundquist is from Lakeville High School. His team won a JV state title this year for the boys. Coach Lundquist, Coach Lusk, recently retired. Was a 4-time champion at Troy Athens High School. We're going to talk today about training and programming. Right? We're going to look at intensity, specificity, and how kind of we program and do things. And all 4 of us are going to kind of go around the table and talk a little bit because we all have different experiences to speak from. With our association, we care about the high school kids, the high school powerlifters, and we want to build strength and shape character within our association, and part of that is doing it the right way when it comes from a programming standpoint, Coach Gilliam.
Definitely. Looking forward to seeing these guys since they've been state champion coaches. Coach Lusk multiple times. So it's a time to pick their brains because usually when we see them, it's at a meet and they're super swamped. And it's hard to talk details, you know. And when you first start coaching, you kind of keep things closely vested a little bit, especially when you get the secret sauce going a little bit. You're like, I don't know. I kind of like being on top a little bit here, but I know these guys will share stuff because they're the stand-up guys that we've learned to love and appreciate in their time here in the MHSPLA.
Absolutely. And our first topic, well, I should have our little sound effects going. Our first topic
Nice.
is group management and safety. Now, with this, right, what we're looking at, we have large groups, right? 30, 40 kids, sometimes more. How do you practically monitor intensity and ensure form doesn't break down on heavy sets? Coach Lusk, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Yeah, as far as monitoring intensity and making sure our form stays good, what we try to do is we have 3 coaches per rack when we have our practices. So that allows us to, to the best of our ability, be able to just watch 3 lifters at a time. And then from there to make sure we keep that intensity proper. If we start to see the form break down where there's a risk of injury, then we're definitely going to take some weight off the bar, rack it up, reassess from there, or vice versa. The weight is jumping and they're just flying with the weight. We need to load a little more weight on that day and get the most we can out of it.
Okay, Coach Lundquist.
Yeah, so I'm a one-man show at Lakeville. I'm the only coach in the weight room. So the best way that I found to do it is to make my athletes coaches as well. So I have a very knowledgeable team, and they're able to monitor their teammates and the other lifters in the weight room, and they know what exactly to look for because I taught them how to look for it and what to look for. And hey, if this happens, we got to take some weight off the bar and fix it. Um, that's the best approach I've found so far, just with just me.
Oh, it's great. I've been able in my time to do a little bit of what each of you do because when you first start off, you're kind of Han Solo in there, and so you've got to teach the lifters to correctly spot, to correctly identify. Like that was something that was always a challenge for me. Like so, I use a lot of videos to show kids like, yeah, you thought that was easy, but look at here, you got stuck at the midway point. See how you totally slowed down, and then you teach the kids like, I mean, 5 more pounds, they might not have pushed through that sticking point. You know what I mean? And so even though the lockout went fast, that midpoint, or maybe they were really slow out of the hole, those types of things. So for me, I really taught about looking at the speed of the bar movement a lot when it came with intensity, like, oh, okay, that's a little harder than it should have been. If that was your last rep, that's fine. But when we're doing a set of 5 and that was your first rep or 2, that's probably not going to work out for you too well today, kind of thing. But I think Coach Whittaker and I have something in common too. I like to use clocks. Do you guys use like a timer at all to keep them on track?
Mm-mm.
No, not really.
No.
I found that once your team got larger, that was huge
No.
for me. Yeah. Have you ever used a clock, Coach Lusk?
So what I'll do is I'll give them like a time frame, like, hey, we're trying to get through these lifts at this time. And then especially the only time I use a clock is on Wednesdays for the varsity, where we're focused more on technique for the bigger lifts, but then we do circuits to get through our accessory work that day. That's the only time I'll put a timer on.
Yeah, I understand.
But at the same time too, I got a couple other coaches in there with me to help keep kids on track, and kind of like Coach
Yeah.
Lundquist was saying, you develop that, hey, coaches or lifters coaching each other, that helps too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, good. Coach Whittaker, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to say a lot of the same things you guys have already said, right? Much like Lundquist, I'm coaching those kids on how to coach each other, right? Because it's many times it is me by myself in there too, especially before school, after school, or I might have some of the football guys coming to help me out and be extra eyes, and I'm still teaching them how to really look at a lift and break it down and see where the weak points are and what cues do we need to provide at what points. Um, we keep them on a clock as far as overall time on main lift, but like Coach Lusk was saying, accessory work is all, and our warm ups are all on a timer. We really preach to them: missed reps don't help us. Um, if I'm trying to get it to where a kid gets angry at another kid for missing a rep because they made a dumb weight choice, uh, not not missing it. Like, and so they like give that give that feedback. Like, look, like that's not how we do this. We've also been playing around with uh, bar velocity a little bit, right? And of course, if you've had one of these, right, you're probably much like me, sending it back because it's been broken by an idiot pulling on the string, not broken while being used. But like, no shout outs, free shout outs, I guess, to OVR. They are quite affordable, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down with velocity training, but that helps, I think,
Yeah.
on the heavy days. On the heavy days, almost give them permission to add more and help guide attempt selection as far as working up on your max effort.
Nice. That would be kind of another whole discussion topic on how to use and implement those in training. That's pretty cool. All right,
Hmm.
guys, high school athletes often want to max out every week, especially the boys, right? They have the macho thing going. They want to every week they want to push it. How do you guys approach teaching the teenagers the difference between training intent and trying, just trying to hit a personal record every session?
Go ahead,
We'll
Nick. You
start
can
with
take it.
Lundquist this time.
Okay. Um, so this is it's kind of difficult from my standpoint. Well, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I do max effort days. So our main lift is always working up to a heavy single or double or triple, depending on what we're doing. Um, and if the kids are feeling good, man, I let them push it. But if that speed slows way down, they're done. They back out. They're done for the main lift, and they'll move on. The my motto all the time is 5 pounds is 5 pounds. If you hit a 5 pound PR in the weight room on those max effort days, Mondays and Tuesdays, get out of there. You're done. You're moving on to the next thing because 5 pounds is huge in the weight room, especially when you start getting up into those big numbers. You can't, some people can't push 5 pounds. It takes them months. You get a 5 pound PR, you're done. And move on. Get the accessory stuff done because that's just as important to me as you hitting a new PR or max during those days.
Yeah, good. Coach Lusk?
Yeah, so for me, it's the younger kids that you got to teach that to. I've been pretty lucky that once they get to the varsity level, they understand the training and the programming, where they're not always trying to max out. So it's trying to establish that at the younger level is where we put that in. But like for the varsity kids, we follow a um, Texas method type layout where Monday we're hitting volume, Wednesday's more of a technique type day, and then Friday's when we can get after it. And kind of like Lundquist was saying, it's not always a one rep PR. It could be 5, it could be 2, 3, whatever it might be. But that's the day they can get after it. And they've kind of learned like, hey, we're going to build for that day. So we get a lot of that ego out on Monday and Wednesday.
Gotcha. Coach Whittaker, how about yourself?
Conjugate training, baby. We max out every week. But what does maxing out mean? Right? We're utilize the max effort method. The way we put it with our kids is it's heavy. You're straining and pushing on that bar, but you're holding good form when you do it. Once form breaks, it now becomes too heavy. So really, is it a max out in the sense of by any means necessary? No. It's strain, it's push on the bar, hold good positions. We get slight technique breakdown. That's when we're shutting it off and being like, "Yep, look, see, you started around your uh, upper back forward. That's showing a weak point there that we need to either cue with technique or strength, and we build from there." So we strain on every week and then change the lift. Our kid, like Nick's talking about, like 5 pounds is 5 pounds. Break a record. Like we have football players that break all time records in the squat with a bar in season,
Yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
and they're still high performers on the field on Friday night.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know,
Well, the conjugate method, I mean, I love it as well. Like you get your, you know, max days, you know, your heavy days, you got your speed days. I think the challenge for me, especially with boys, just my own personal experience, those speed days, they're supposed to be light. All of a sudden, there's 10 extra pounds or 15 extra pounds on their work set.
Hmm.
And it's like, what are you doing? Like, do you understand? Chances are next week, you're not going to get your sets. No, because
Yeah.
you, instead of lifting at like, you know, whatever the percentage range was, 65%, which is by design, you know, oh, you decide I'm going to be more like 75 to 80%, you know, for that many sets, you know, and you guys know some of those days are like 8x2.
Yeah. Hmm.
And they're supposed to be light and easy. Those were the days that I tried to implement so they wouldn't do it. More of a control the weight. So we did like 5 counts down, pause it, explode up, you know, because it's supposed to be super light. But you know,
Yeah.
when they're used to going up and down like they're doing their warm up sets, all of a sudden, you know, this is too light, coach. You know, so that was always a challenge for me, for them to understand the difference. And you know, this is a day that's supposed to focus on technique, those speed
Hmm.
days. So that was just a challenge for me. I don't know.
you,
But as they got more veteran, as I think Nick alluded to, you know, less of that. It's more of the younger
Yeah.
kids. Especially, I used to include a lot of middle school kids.
Mhm.
So that was always a challenge. All right,
dynamic
coach.
work, increasing rate of force development while maximizing perfect technique under lighter loads. Um, How do you handle exercise specificity when a student lacks the basic mobility or trunk stability to safely perform a standard competition squat or deadlift?
Lusk, you started.
Okay. So part of our warm up is, I think I put this in 2 or 3 years ago. We started doing the McGill Big Three every day when we come in to warm up, and over time, I started noticing that would help with that core stability and that trunk stability. But if we still have kids lacking, uh, I'm not putting a barbell on your back till you're ready to go. And it's a really prideful thing for some kids sometimes. You know, they see everybody else doing it and, you know, they want to just jump in. But I mean, you can get a lot of strength gains off of a goblet squat or moving to like a front squat, or Zercher's big right now. Just, you know, we start our season with PVC pipe. Doesn't matter if it's varsity or JV, and you know they all roll their eyes like, "Oh, I know how to lift." But you know when you're in the bottom of a squat with even a PVC pipe on your back, and I'm counting, not you, but I'm counting, like it could last a while, right? And it could be challenging. I mean, Lundquist knows a little bit about that, you know, from how slow I can count at times, but
Oh
but
yeah.
no, I mean that's what we do. You know, we start with the basics and we build up, and we're not going to put you in a position where you're going to hurt yourself with a bar.
All right, good. Lundquist.
Yeah, very similar. We do a lot of like goblet squats and stuff like that, especially into a box, because kids always want to know how deep do I have to go? How deep do I? And I'm never gonna say, all the way down, like all the way to the ground. Obviously, like I'm a parallel, just below parallel guy, and I'll put a box underneath them, and they'll goblet squat down to the box as many times, and we'll work off that into a front squat or a Zercher squat, like Lusk was saying. And then eventually, when they're ready, we'll put a bar on their back. But again, I'm not gonna risk a kid's safety by just going right in there and putting a bar right on their back and saying, "Hey, here you go, good luck."
Mhm. Coach Whittaker.
change the bar, change the exercise. We have some 15, 25-pound mini bars that we'll utilize with the straight bar. When we're into the specialty bar stuff, one of the things I like to do, because as Coach Lusk alluded to, the kid doesn't want to look up and down the racks and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm over here doing goblet squat," while the kid that's in my grade is over there squatting with that fancy looking bar that we got. So we'll use the lighten method. So taking the bands or reverse bands, attaching them to the top of the rack. So now at the bottom of the lift, the weight is lighter. We do that a lot with the yoke bar, safety squat bar. Um, and what it does is it allows them to use that bar, but makes that bar light enough so they can. And they still get the benefits of that bar, right? If it's a yoke bar, as they're working up with the lighten method and it wants to start to push you forward, they can still fight that.
Mm-hmm.
Camper bar, same thing, right? It just changing the exercise and using things like the lighten method helps that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I would use goblet squat a lot with the younger kids, but like you talked about specific bars, we didn't get into all the different type like the yoke bar and stuff. But I would buy training bars that were like 15 pounds and stuff like that, especially for the younger kids or somebody brand new. Like you can just tell, like sometimes they get under the bar, but like everybody's first set when they get in was always with the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just got to watch them. But yeah, that's the hardest thing, and so sometimes some of them, they're not even ready for a 45-pound bar because they don't even know how to really like get it on their back correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But we spent a lot of time on how to grab the bar, and keep a good grip on it as you're getting under the bar and learn to get under correctly, find that spot, squeezing the traps, all that type of stuff, getting the elbows forward, and then just unracking it. And we'll get into some other stuff later, but we spent a lot of time on how the correct walkout. Lusk, you've been at nationals. The top lifters, it's like 2 steps out, they settle their feet and they're ready to rock. Because
Yep.
if they got 700 pounds for some of these boys, some of these girls got 400 pounds on their back, you're not going to take 7 steps out and wiggle around a bunch. You'll be sitting there waiting forever for the squat command. So the top level lifters learn how to get under there, unrack it, and walk out nice and controlled with minimal effort. And and I think when kids learn to do that, they naturally have that posture that they need to hinge correctly. And they most likely have that mobility too. Many high school lifters play other sports. I'm sure you guys have coached multi-sport kids, even though they power lift for you. How do you guys adjust their intensity during competitive sports season? Like ours is winter sports. So if you got girls that are playing basketball or boys that might be playing basketball or wrestling or whatever, how do you adjust their intensity during their other sports season compared to if it was just the off season? Lundquist, let's start with you.
We lift heavy all year round. So, like Whittaker was saying earlier, we'll have kids hit their heaviest max squat on Tuesday and go perform a game on Friday night. Just fine, no problems at all. I keep the volume fairly low, especially like on certain accessory stuffs. So like we'll do obviously Monday, Tuesday max effort. Thursday, Friday we do that dynamic effort. But if they're feeling sluggish, they're feeling slow, I'll take some percentage off their dynamic effort work and make it a little bit lighter for them so they can move, just keep that bar speed up there. And as long as they're moving that bar fast, it should be, if they're still getting some work in. But just keeping that volume lower than what I would like during the summer right now when we have, all you have really going on right now is 7-on-7 football league, stuff like that going on. You don't have to worry about a whole lot. So that's where you can kind of amp that volume up. But like with Lakeville, it's such a small school, so I'm always training in-season athletes. It's one of those things, and that doesn't bother them too much. We're doing what we do right now during season. So, and if it does, they'll talk to me about it.
Yeah, if they're training year round, it shouldn't be a big adjustment for them.
Right? No.
How
Yeah.
about you, Lusk? Any changes?
Yeah, no, very similar to what Coach Lundquist was saying. It's a big drop in volume. Like we use that Texas method, right? None of my multi-sport athletes that are in season are going to do a 5x5. I'm just not going to do that to them. So we'll drop that volume down. And then a lot of times they won't do much accessory work. They'll do a little bit, but especially for the legs, like most of our basketball players, they're getting plenty of leg work just being at basketball practice, running, jumping. I mean, that's so much plyometrics. So I'll reduce pretty much all the lower body volume, accessory work, and then as far as upper body, just little pieces here and there, making sure they're still keeping that upper back in place. Some pull-ups, not even heavy rows anymore. And for them, it might just be pull-ups or, some little tricep work. But biggest thing is dropping that volume because you need your kids to be able to recover. And that's what I found is the big key piece. Like Coach Lundquist was saying, having that open line of communication is important too, because there's ways that I could train and go play where a kid, if they did that, it would either not be enough or it's too much for them. So having that good communication with your athlete of, hey coach, I was really sore at practice the other day. Okay, cool, let's back this down a little bit, or maybe we only do half of the sets. I
Mhm.
wish I could give you an exact prescription of what I do, but it's really a day by day kind of going on the fly based on how they're feeling.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would do similar stuff that both of you guys did. I mean, my own daughter, both of them would play basketball during power lift, and eventually they gave up basketball because you know they got sick of taking like second and third at meets. So, and they weren't that great of a basketball player, so they just kind of chose to dive in. But yeah, instead of 5x5, maybe you drop to 3x5 or 2x5, and maybe some weeks because they just tell you that they're dog tired because coach ran them into the ground the day before. And maybe it's one set of five. You know, get the one set in and move on. Yeah, I'm with you on that, and definitely cut out accessories, especially for legs, because that you're right. If they're in basketball, they're running a lot, so their legs are already getting a lot of accessory work in. So yeah, do you get a lot of that as well, Coach Whittaker?
Nope,
Not as much as
I don't.
Dexter?
Our kids, our kids, if they come to me and say, "Coach, I kind of want to power lift, but I also want to play basketball," I tell them, "Okay, go play basketball. I'll see you on our in-season protocol." That's just I look at it like this. I'm a strength coach first, and I started a strength and conditioning program to help build better athletes all around. I've had it where some of them have tried to come in and train on our 4 day a week cycle, um, and they can't handle the training that is needed to be able to get there, right? Because part of our requirements of being on the team, you're training 4 days a week within our program, and it's 75-minute session. Our classes, though, are block, so it's every other day. So it builds that rest period in for that in-season athlete where they just come into the class. That's kind of how we've always done it. When I get that kid that kind of really is adamant about doing both, I'll do just what you guys are talking about. The Usually what I'll do is I'll change the main lift, especially on max effort day. Um, Taking instead of a full squat to a box, maybe we're gonna, if they're getting beat up, we'll do a max effort sled drag that day, or a belt squat, or it'll just be, all right, hey, you're gonna drag that sled for the next 20 minutes, walking around that track with the quarter on it, and flush your legs out a little bit. And for us, I like to keep, because our accessory volume is basically the same for 3 weeks, right?
Hmm.
We're always going to do 3 sets, because that's how the kind of the timing of it all works right now. We got about 21 minute span to get 6 different things in to hit all our different weak points. So like
Hmm.
I'll pull the max effort workout and have them hit the heavy accessories, so that they get the weak point work because they can recover from that stuff in 12 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good.
it's the
Yeah.
big compound lifts that they struggle to recover from, and you should give 72 hours in between if you can.
Yeah.
We're condensing down into a 5-day week so that much like Lundquist is saying, like we spread out on our 4-day a week plan. We spread out our max effort days and put them at the end of the week, and
Yeah.
then around
Yeah.
dynamic in the middle to kind of space that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I've done both of what you guys have done, and then I've like fiddle farted around, and depending there in the powerlifting season, I would probably most likely put my deadlift heavy day towards the end of the week, because then if we were going to a meet that week, they didn't their heavy day training became the meet that Saturday. Is how I would use it with deadlift, especially during the season. That's what I would do. But yeah, during the off season, I would probably do a 6 to 12 week cycle of my max effort day early in the week, and then I'd flip it, put it later in the week, change it around. So that's good. All right, Whittaker, you're next.
So if a sport coach is already running their athletes hard outside of the weight room, how do you modify your powerlifting program to prevent the systematic fatigue and burnout? I'll take this one first
Yeah.
just to mix it up. If we're talking in season, I think we've already discussed that. If we're talking about out of season, again, if they're on another team, we're cutting down the number of sessions a week they're training. That's kind of how we do that. Or if they are adamant they want to keep training on our 4-day plan, then we would change movements. That's how we do it.
Okay. Good. Lusk, how about yourself?
Yeah. So, if you're talking about, so we kind of talked about like the legs being tired and stuff like that, but we haven't talked much about the nervous system yet.
Yeah.
So with that one, if they're like, Coach, I'm just tired all the time. I'm not really sore. I'm just tired and dragging. And maybe we're in a phase where we're doing some heavy lifting. Maybe it's heavy doubles, triples, singles, whatever it might be. That's where then I'll back off and be like, all right, maybe today just do a deload, or take the day off and work at a weak point, like you guys had mentioned before. Because that heavy single, those heavy doubles, they get exhausting. And if you're already kind of just dragging, or finals time, you'll find that a lot during finals time too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who I heard say, I think it was Connor over at Davenport. He was like, stress is stress. And it does not matter if it's, from a mental standpoint or physical, if they're just in a lot of stressful situations, the central nervous system is just going to go. So I'll back down on that too.
Lundquist?
Yeah, same thing. Like, so we do the 4-day at Lakeville, and all the athletes are on the 4-day at Lakeville. And I will just modify what I need to if the kids come up to me and say, "Hey, like, I'm just tired." Like, they're not even sore; they're just having trouble staying awake or focusing. And I'll back some intensity off. Like if it's a dynamic effort day, I'm back some percentages off, or maybe have them do half the reps on accessory work or whatever that may be, or half the sets, or whatever they think they need. And I'll give them their time, because like Lusk was saying earlier about communication, I think that's huge when a kid can come up to you and kind of communicate that with you. Says, "Hey, I'm just tired." They don't know why they're tired, because the CNS is a crazy thing, but they know they're tired.
Sure. Yeah. I think some of the things I've tried, and some of them I think worked with some kids, and some didn't necessarily work with every kid. But some of those days, like on those heavy days, if they told me that, I just said, get your warm up sets in for the squat or whatever. Don't worry about your work set. Just get the warm up sets in. And then I said, try and get all your accessory work in, but if they were dragging worse, or let's say it led into the next week again, then, so I always tried to trim as little fat as possible initially, and then I would trim more if needed, if things continued beyond that 1 week period of time. But, that's something, I don't know, I'm probably stubborn. I never said, oh, skip squat or skip bench. You can just skip it
Yeah.
today. But I will
Yeah.
say you can skip your work set. And sometimes it was like, if it was a heavy day, skip your heavy set, but I still want you to do your drop sets
Yeah.
and see how those feel, you know. And if the drop sets were, you know, they were still dragging, then I'd say, okay, well, you did that, so let's take a couple sets off your accessory work. You know, you'll do one set of this instead of 3, you know, and hopefully it helps them recoup and recover. So, all right, good. All right, so Whittaker's talked about a little bit, but let's say you got somebody that's coming to you, they only have 2 or 3 days a week to dedicate to powerlifting. One, I don't know if like you have a standard, like, no, you just won't be participating with us, or if you're still like, yeah, we know that your other sport is like your primary sport, we're your secondary sport, and you know, you kind of work that out. I've done that in the past, especially when I was trying to build my numbers. But then when you get numbers, you know, that are high enough, you don't really need to do that special favors for people. But like, what's some of the things that you guys have done to try and maintain, like, you know, the specificity with those kids, even though they're, you know, you're 4 weeks, Lundquist, or 4 days a week, they can only come in 2 days. Is it one heavy day, one speed day, both of them heavy days? What is your emphasis with those kids?
So I don't have to deal with that very often because I do a morning lift, so I'll do before school lift. I have classes all throughout the day, and then I have the afternoon lift. So a lot of those kids know, hey, they have how many chances throughout the day to come and get their workout in. So like that after school practice really doesn't become that big of a deal. However, if that was the case, if I had somebody approach me that way, I would do it where I would have, if there was only 2 days a week, I'd do a heavy day and a speed day, and I would have to just intermix upper and lower on each one of those days.
Okay, gotcha. How about you, Lusk? Have you had to experience that maybe back in your bundle days?
Yeah. Yeah. No, actually Bendo was super easy. Those kids were all 100% powerlifting. That they were just digging in on that. Yeah, it was fun.
Nice.
Coach and I, Lundquist and I, we were coaching together there, so we had a lot of good stories from that time. But no, it was at Athens, kind of like you were talking about, to help build the program. I would work with people a lot, and then there became years where I had to do tryouts and I had to cut people. So then it was, you need to be at practice every day. Like, how am I going to keep you if you're 1 day a week? But then we got to the point, we got some more racks in there where I didn't have to cut anymore. And I enjoy that. I hated the cutting process, and I like.
All right, that wraps up part 1 of our Coaches Roundtable with Nick Lundquist and Nick Lusk here on the platform, where the stories weigh a ton. In part 2, we're going to get into regulating intensity day to day, RPE versus percentages, peaking and tapering for the state meet, and budget-friendly variations these coaches use to fix technical flaws. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it when this episode drops on Thursday of this week. If this helped you, if you enjoyed it, leave us a review, send the topic ideas, as always, to info@mhspla.com. We'll see you back here again on Thursday for part 2 with Coach Lusk and Coach Lundquist.
Bars chalked up, clocks counting down. Another early morning in a small town gym right now. Steel on sleeves, heart in your hands. Every rep, every meet, building Michigan's strongest plans. Welcome to the platform, where the stories weigh a ton. Squat, bench, dead, we rise as one. Michigan's lifters, this is our home. Turn it up, feel that form. This is the platform. Bus rides, late nights, singlets in the duffel bag. White lights, red lights, every call, every flag. From the first warm up to that last grind set. We talk chalk, talk nerves, talk the best you haven't met yet. Welcome to the platform where the stories weigh a ton. Squat, bench, dead, we rise as one. Michigan's lifters, this is our home. Turn it up, feel that form. This is the platform. From the UP down to the lakeshore, every rock's a little more war, but you're never walking in alone.